This meeting is being.
Hello,
Hello.
hello.
Yes, you are audible. Continue, please.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Uh, okay, hope you can see my screen.
Yes, continue.
Oh, sure. Uh, okay, I can see two guys over here, Ganga Vardhan and then Jail Singh. So, shall we start if you are okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sure. So, welcome to the demo. I will start with a brief introduction of what is SAP and then where we are going to land in with this course, right? So today is 13th. So, okay, just I'll give you a brief introduction of myself. Myself, Mahesh. I have a total of 12 years and total into SAP ABAP, and then I take sessions with Mohan for KSI, right? So, uh, this is a demo session which we will be concluding it in 20 or 25 minutes by introducing few of the SAP related topics, and then we'll discuss the syllabus that we are going to cover throughout the ABAP that we are going to discuss over the next 2 months or so. And then once the course is done, we will work on the interview questions and then the interview preparations, right? So it's as simple as the way that we do it in our college, that like a mini project, and then we get into the market, right? So the same way we will complete the course and then get into the interview preparations and then the interviews, and I'll assist you throughout your interview process, like whenever you are stuck up somewhere. If you are facing any new questions, we will revisit, we will work on it. So that's how we are going to uh, continue with the sessions, right? So with this introduction, I will move on to this. This is the day one, or well, we'll name it as demo, right? Demo 13. Right. So today the point of interest or the topic of the day is, right, ERP. So the full form of ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning, right? So what you understand from the naming that it is Enterprise Resource Planning? Any thoughts? Anything that you have already had a kind of pre-study that you have done for the session? You can unmute and then let me know. If not, I will go ahead. Right. So I have some presentations for you that we will run through. Okay. So, all right. You can see the presentation now.
Yes.
Yes. So ERP is basically the enterprise resource planning, like I said. So it is a mechanism or it is a process that combines or coordinates multiple processes together and then achieve the business goals. Right. So ERP is not something, it's not actually a software, it is a methodology. There are software built around the ERP concept, right, in which SAP is one. So what I can say is ERP is a kind of methodology or a technology that combines multiple business processes and then coordinates the business topics together in a single platform. So that platform can be anything. We have multiple ERP softwares that we will run through, right? So the next slide gives you more detailed understanding of ERP. So this is, in short, you can visualize in this mechanical gear aspect where in order to function or in order to put the right gear, all the functions like as you see the purchasing, the finance, the sales, manufacturing, everything has to work in a synchronized manner, right? It cannot be in a way that the sales team does its own activities in a own on its own, and then manufacturing does it on its own, and then purchasing on its own, right? So every action or every process that we run in the real world has to be in coordination, right? So manufacturing team cannot go and then manufacture 1,000 cars without the forecast or without the orders from the the sales team, right? So I may take an example over here, right? So let's say we have the Kia as a business, which is there in Anantapur, right? So we have manufacturing team, we have sales team, and then we have purchasing team. What if the manufacturing team works on its own without any coordination with the sales team and purchasing team? So it will simply go ahead and then try to manufacture some 1,000 cars, but then the sales team doesn't have any orders, right? What it will lead to? It will lead to over inventory, and then over a period of time the cars will become, and I mean it may not get spoiled, but then it becomes outdated, right? Everything gets changed from time to time, so the orders also have to be executed from time to time as per the trend, right? Now let's say the sales team works on its own without coordination with purchasing or manufacturing. So they will get some 1,000 orders, but they don't pass on the information to the manufacturing and then purchasing team, right? So in that case, we will not have the inventory that is required to supply to the end user. Similarly, the purchasing team. In order for manufacturing team to enable the manufacturing, the purchasing team has to get the materials from third party and then supply it to manufacturing. So they also have to work in coordination with all the three teams. And in the end, we have finance. So all these aspects are completely managed by finance, right? So this ERP is a kind of, or the methodology that talks about all these functions to be worked in a synchronized manner, and all of them are brought into a single umbrella, right? This enables corporate firms to readily change their processes to adapt to ever changing business scenario, right? So what does it mean? So earlier, if you have seen, the sales team is a kind of front desk team that sits in an office. Someone walks down to their office and then they give the order, and then they take the order and then they go to the manufacturing team or purchasing team, and then they will give a slip, and then they will start manufacturing, and then it's completely a kind of disconnected process that everything has to be managed by a manual person, even though we have the systems. Now things are changed in a way that the moment we get an order, it has to alert respective teams based on the availability of the inventory and then availability of the materials for the manufacturing team to work. So this is what it meant that based on the demand and then based on the ever changing business needs, the software or the methodology of the business also has to be changed. So this ERP talks about that methodology, that for every change that is coming in the real world, ERP has the capability to adapt to, right? So it provides the industry specific process. Like I said, it works with the sales, purchase, finance, and everything. So it completely takes care of the business world entities in a organized manner. So this is the diagram that comes into my mind when I speak about the ERP methodology. So you can have this in your mind, and then whenever we speak about ERP, it is a methodology that you need to know about, right? So now we know, okay, you don't need to get into all of them, which may not be very much helpful, but you just need to know what is an ERP, and then why clients buy ERP. It has strategic initiatives. All these are, yeah, again, the theoretical aspect, IT, to make the transition from a supporting operation entity to becoming a strategic competitive tool, right? Now, coming to the point where I will talk about the major ERP vendors or major ERP softwares, I can say. So the major ERP vendors are one is SAP, the one is Oracle, then you have JDE, then you have Microsoft Dynamics, right? Right? So these are all the vendors that have implemented the software based on the ERP methodology that we have discussed so far. Right, in which SAP has the major stake of all these vendors. I would say it has at least 35% of the stake overall ERP that is used by whole business across the globe. If you talk about any customer, you talk about Mercedes-Benz, it uses SAP. You talk about Audi, it uses Mercedes-Benz. You talk about food business like McDonald's, it uses SAP. You talk about retail company like Walmart, yeah, KSI, or like Target, anything they use SAP, right? Any named companies or any named business organizations that you talk about mostly have the SAP because of the prominence and then because of the uh, flexibility or the kind of security, the kind of business functions it provides. So SAP dominates. Again, in the coming days, in the recent days, we have a bit of occupancy by Oracle. It is also coming more into the ERP world and then Microsoft Dynamics, right? But the overall point here is SAP is dominating the ERP world. I just told about some big names. I can speak about the small companies as well, where SAP is also a prominent software for them. Like Akums, it's a small pharmaceutical company in India established in Delhi. Their operations are also completely dependent on SAP's availability or SAP's functionality, right? So even some of the government projects are also run on SAP, irrespective of the budgets and all, right? So this says that SAP has captured a lot of the market because of its offerings and then because of the uh, support that it gives from time to time, right? So this is about ERP. You need to know, don't spend much time in understanding, I mean in doing more of analysis on ERP. You just need to know what is an ERP and then what are the available vendors and then what is SAP's role in ERP in the global market, right? So these are the three key points you need to understand if when you start about SAP, right? The next thing we will talk about, we will start with SAP. What is SAP? Systems, applications, and products, right? So SAP. So this is the full form of SAP, and then the broader aspect of SAP is a dominant ERP software, like we have discussed, and then we will drill down. We will speak more about SAP, that how it functions, and then what are the core components, and then in the next 5 minutes we are going to talk about the modules that are available in SAP, right? And then the projects that gets handled through SAP. So I will try to see if I find some kind of yes, think yes we have yes. Okay, this we will discuss later. We don't need to worry much now. This we will discuss when we are there more about ABAP or the modules, right? So SAP is an R3 architecture, three-layer system, right? Three-layered system. What does it mean? What is meant by third three-layer architecture is it has three layers, that is database. Then we have application layer. And last one is presentation layer. right? So we'll discuss more of each of the layers. So the database layer, this is the underlying place where all the data gets stored. We may not be able to see being an application consultant or being an end user, but this is the core of any of the application or any of the systems, right? So this is where the data gets physically stored. The data can be on a data warehouse where they will have big rooms to store all the data related topics, and then it is a physical place. Or it can be a cloud, the cloud again, it can be a hybrid. So whatever it is, the database, when I say it is completely the storage, everything that we talk about or everything we process normally gets stored in the form of tables, which are further being stored in the database. So this is the bottom layer of the, I'm talking from bottom to top. You need to understand that database is the bottom layer, and then the next one comes application layer. This is where all the business logic gets executed. Business logic takes place, right? So what it means. Okay, before I talk about application layer, I'll talk about presentation layer. This is a user interaction layer, right? So now if I open SAP, being an end user or being an ABAPer or being an FI or CO or SD consultant, what I see in the front face is what we call it as presentation layer, right? So I will show you a pictorial representation of the same. Yes, so this is what I mean to say. Okay, you don't look at the client and all, you will get confused. All that I am trying to cover here is the three-layered architecture, right? So this is the presentation layer. The people who are sitting in front of the screen and what they see is what we call it as the presentation layer. And then the second layer where the CPU or RAM related things and then the brain it is showing up. This is the application layer where all the business logic gets executed. And then the last one where you see a box or disk and everything. So this is the database layer where all the business logic, sorry, all the data gets stored, right? So this is, I mean, whatever I have put up in the board, it is a bottom-up approach, but in general, it is a presentation layer. When there is a request from presentation layer, okay, let's say the person tried to log into the system, he will give the user ID and then password. It goes back into the application layer. Application layer takes the request and it understands what kind of request it is, and then it tries to get the validation from the disk that is in the database. Based on the results that it gets from the database, the application layer decides whether it needs to allow the candidate to be logged in or not, right? So from this context, what you need to understand or what you need to focus or make yourself digested is that the whole business logic or the whole burden falls more on the application layer, right? It has to take the request from the presentation layer, that is from the end user, and then it needs to collect the data from the database. And then based on the results, it needs to give the result back to the end user. So the whole backbone, heart, or everything, whatever we call, is completely done in the application layer, right? So being an ABAPer, we guys work more or fully in this node application layer, right? We build the applications, we build the screens, and then we integrate or we work with the database to get the data, to process it, and then show it back to the end user, right? So this is a three-layer architecture when I say it is the R3 architecture, right? Now I'll talk about the modules, SAP, right? In SAP, the technical team or the IT team basically be categorized into two modules. One is functional consultant, The other is technical consultants. Right. So first, the functional consultants or the functional modules or the modules. Right. So the broader categorization or what it means to be a functional consultant is they basically work on the business aspects than on the system, right? They take the requirements from the business and then they map it into the a technical requirement and then give it to the technical people. So what I'll give you an example, the same Kia. So now I'll list down the modules first, then we will discuss sales and distribution, material management, finance. I'll list down very basic modules. I don't put everything. Or production planning. Production planning is what we call it as manufacturing. Then procurement. Procurement is a subpart of right? So what is the role of a sales and distribution consultant or finance consultant is that we have the sales process that is defined on the system. Now these sales and distribution consultants or the SD consultants are responsible to take care of the sales related functionality and then the business process. So they need to discuss with the business related to the sales orders, the deliveries, the invoice, and then how it has to be integrated, how it has to be managed, how the business process has to be defined. So based on their discussions, based on their knowledge, I mean, not just discussion, they will make the end users or the business understand about the existing functionality of SAP. It can be standard or the customization. They will discuss with them. They will propose the solutions. They will propose the gaps and everything, and then they will collect the requirements. Right? When they collect the requirements, they will further have to work internally within our team and then get the requirement done through the technical consultant. Similarly, a finance consultant, he or she needs to work with the finance business team and then get the requirement. It's not just getting the requirement. What you are going to do is the consulting. That's where I have put it as functional consultant. So they are basically consultants. Like the way we go to a doctor doesn't simply write or okay, the moment you go and then tell the doctor you have fever, he doesn't give you the medicine. He try to investigate, right? If how long the problem persists and then what kind of medication you took earlier and then your age or your temperature. So he assesses everything and then if it doesn't require some cases, it doesn't require any medication, he will just give the suggestions, right? Similar case, the functional consultant also works in a way that he understands the requirement and then try to consult them, give them the consultation suggestions. Like it can be done through a standard process, SAP standard process, or it requires some kind of development, or it requires some kind of data change. So he or she does consultation actually with the knowledge they have gained on SD, the knowledge they have gained on the finance. Each consultant has their own skill set, right? So they will gather the inputs and then work with the other set of people that are technical consultant or modules. So what are the prominent technical modules or ABAP stays first? And then we have basis, and then we have security, we have BODS, the data services team. So out of these technical modules, ABAP or I would say any of out of these modules that we are listed, ABAP is the only programming module. The rest of them are either admin or the functional module. So whatever we spoke here, SD, FI, PP, procurement, they don't code anything. They do the consulting work with the business. And then here we being the ABAPers, does the programming. This is the only coding or programming module in whole SAP. So, so the next one is basis. They are the admin team, okay, administration team. Team. So what that means? What is an administration team over here? So they are responsible for system setup, upgrades, right? Any system patches, any database upgrades, or anything in short. Then security, as the name suggests, they are the gatekeepers. They define the security aspects. BODS, it is migration team, data migration team, right? So these are the two sets of modules or are the consultants we will encounter in SAP. And then our point of interest is ABAP that we are going to start from the next session. I'll see if I can take a half an hour session in the evening, but then this is what I have put up for the demo of 30 minutes, right? So we need to know what is an ERP. Don't need to stress much on this note. But you need to know what is an ERP, and then this is something I will stress upon each of you. Either it is a functional consultant or a technical consultant. We need to emphasize on this three-layered architecture. If we don't know what is a three-layer architecture, and if we don't know what each layer does and each layer's importance is, then it's nothing that we can learn further, right? If you guys are getting some time for the evening or tomorrow's ABAP introduction session, please investigate little more on this, understand, and if you have any questions, we will discuss on this. And then the third important aspect again is the module. So what are the kinds of people or what are the kinds of segregation you will see in terms of the consultants? What are functional consultant does, and then what are technical consultants does, and then what are the technical modules, what are the functional modules. So this is something you need to again know. And because why you need to know being in a paper about all of them is on the system, whatever you get, you cannot solve on your own. Each consultant has a different set of skill. If you face any system related aspects like system slowness or anything, you should know whom to contact. If you are getting any authorization related problem, you should know whom to contact. If you are facing any master data or anything related to the functionality of any specific solution, you need to know whom you need to contact. If you say you do you if you say that I don't know whom to contact, that's the blunder any SAP consultant can do. So that's where you need to know the roles and responsibilities of each of these people for you to enable to connect to the right set of people. Right? If you are a fresher, it's a different topic. They will introduce you who is that and then what they do. But then when we go with some sort of experience, you should definitely know as a basic understanding of the roles of each of these modules for you to contact for right set of questions, right? It's not that you ask your project manager or your delivery manager for every question, right? So for every question, there may be a different set of lead, there may be a different set of people defined in the organization. So you need to know whom to contact for your question or for your doubt. So that's where I was more interested in introducing you this point, right? So we'll discuss more when we are talking about ABAP, that if we have any performance issue, then whom to contact, and then authorization problems, whom to contact, for test data, whom to contact. So these terminologies we'll discuss more in ABAP, right? So that's all from my end for this half an hour demo that I have planned for. Any questions you guys have? Gangavardhan or Jail Singh?
Nothing from my side.
Oh,
Hello. Yes, Mahesh, sir. Thank you.
yes.
So course content we already shared, right?
I think we have
Hello.
already put, yes, I think we have already sent it across.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Gangvardhan. Thank you, Jagdish. So if required any more information, then you can directly connect with Mahesh sir. So he will guide you further information. So whatever we provide the course content accordingly, we'll once we can confirm and join, then we will cover the course content once again.
Yes, sure.